Yes, I'm lucky enough to have been one of the first people who was teaching in the mindfulness-based stress reduction program. And we called it stress reduction because we thought that was a word that people could understand, because everyone experiences stress. And so the emphasis was on the stress reduction program, and mindfulness wasn't as emphasized back in those days. On the other hand, I came to be the first one of the early teachers because I had been working nearby as a psychotherapist, and I was feeling heavy and depressed, and I heard there was someone down the road who taught yoga at lunchtime. So I would go and I would do some yoga at lunchtime, and that person turned out to be John Kabat-Zinn, and I'd go back to my office and I would feel much better, much lighter. And then I heard there was another teacher doing meditation at lunchtime, and again, I would take my lunch break and I'd go down the road and I would just sit quietly and follow my breath, and again, I'd go back to my office and I'd feel better. And so I thought, and I hadn't been exposed really very much to mindfulness before then. But I felt better, and I really wanted to help my patients in my clinic where I was working feel better. And then I realized that I also needed to quit my job. And so I quit my job in the clinic down the road, and there was an opening with John, and I started. And back in those days, the people who came were some people who had taken his yoga or meditation at lunchtime, like me. But others were people that some of the physicians in the hospital referred. So there was one wonderful orthopedic surgeon who referred some people. Another person was a physician of gastrointestinal, GI, stomach problems. And he sent a lot of people. And then there were also people who experienced a lot of pain. And often in the very beginning years, the people who came were people who many of the doctors had given up on, who kept returning again and again for more visits because their pain hadn't improved or their condition hadn't changed. And so no one heard of mindfulness-based stress reduction back. It's been around since 1979. No one heard of mindfulness, and no one heard of John Kabat-Zinn. So in the beginning, the people who came were people with pretty serious pain and chronic conditions. And that's been changing over the years as the program has become larger. And we've gotten more referrals from different doctors, but also the people who came liked it so much and felt such an improvement that they would tell others. So by word of mouth, it spread, as well as increased referrals from doctors. Well, first of all, I've been also a psychotherapist for many years, doing one-to-one work. And people always come saying they would like change, but often I don't get to see change really quickly. And the mindfulness-based stress reduction program is an 8-week program. And so from the moment people would come, and we would say to them, what are your goals in taking this program? And almost everyone would say, I'd like to feel better, or I'd like to be more at peace, or I'd like to be happier. And they didn't actually talk about their pain or their condition as much as one would think. It was more, I'd like to feel more at peace in my life. And at the end of the 8 weeks, I actually observed people really making some very large changes in their life, having insight as to some of their patterns of thinking or patterns of action that were causing problems and maintaining the problem, whatever it might have been. And I saw a shift in their relationship to the problem. And at the end we would say, well, compare what you initially set as your goal with what you're feeling now. And almost the majority of people would say, I just really do feel much happier. And I may still have pain, but I realize I'm not my pain. And so that continues to be very profound. And I think people have a better sense of perspective on whatever is happening, and also know that they're not so alone. So there's a sense of connection, both inside themselves with the understanding of what's right with them and what they can do, as well as an ability to be with other people and be more understanding and generous, actually, both to oneself and to others. And it continues to be very inspirational from the beginning until now. So you'd like to know how teaching MBSR and being mindful has helped me live with cancer. And I say live with cancer because I was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma in 1995. And at the time, I was actually teaching a class and also teaching professionals how to practice and teach others MBSR. And I actually heard the news in the middle of a session when I was teaching some professionals, telephone call. And so I remember actually very vividly taking that breath and just using my mindfulness to find a balance when so much, my whole world seemed to shift in that moment. And I feel that once a person learns that something is life-altering, and a chronic disease or a life-threatening disease really can change your life very dramatically, it's really important to know that there's a home inside of you where you can be at peace. So you're able to manage all the different changes that will take place. And it helped me be in the present moment. So actually, I was teaching then, and for my first rounds of chemotherapy, I was able to keep teaching. But being mindful also allowed me to be honest about what was happening. And so I told the people in my class this is what was happening, and I'd lose my hair, and if it bothered anyone, they could go into a different class. So I was willing to be authentic and direct with my own experience and not put it on anyone else, but use it right then and there as an example of we don't need to be ashamed, we don't need to hide, we can allow what is true to be present in our lives and still live fully. And then at a certain point of time, after I finished this round of chemotherapy, I discovered that the cancer was growing again. So 6 months after my first series of chemotherapy treatments, which took, maybe 8 months, I don't quite remember, but I learned that I would have to have much more intensive chemotherapy and a procedure called a stem cell transplant, where you get very intensive chemotherapy so that it wipes out your immune system, and you have to be hospitalized. So at that point, I couldn't teach anymore. And I remember going to a teacher's meeting and saying, I'm so tired, but I have to teach, this class tomorrow. And I remember them looking at me and saying, Elana, you don't have to teach this class tomorrow. We'll help you. We'll teach for you. So actually, I was able to go into the class with one of my colleagues. And we switched in the middle of the class, and I said, this is what's happened, and my friend is going to be, my colleague will be teaching instead of me. And I remember moving from the center of the room where I was teaching to the sides to sit with everyone else in the room. And it was a very powerful moment. I mean, so powerful that people still occasionally come up to me and say, I was in that class. How are you? And I say, oh, thank you so much. I'm fine now. But I think that was an example of being able to use mindfulness. I needed a little help in acknowledging that I had limitations. So I was able to acknowledge it, but the mindfulness wasn't only for me, it also was something my colleagues were living and are living. And so I felt that connection again of how we're really all in this together. And one of the things about teaching mindfulness-based stress reduction is we say that there's no separation. There's not a you and a me, but that we're really all connected. So there's no other. We're together. And so when I moved from the position of teacher to patient, I felt actually comfortable doing it. Sad that I had to now cope with something as serious as a stem cell transplant. But I felt very grateful and able to feel a tremendous amount of love and caring that I think helped support me through a very difficult period when I actually almost died. And then again, from this experience of moving through a life-threatening time when I was on oxygen, I could barely breathe, and surviving. And the nurses were impressed that I was able to surrender, that I didn't fight what was impossible to fight. If I had, I actually wouldn't be here today because I wouldn't have been able to breathe. I had oxygen mask. But from that came a study where we've been bringing mindfulness onto the transplant unit. And it's been a very large study, randomized, 3 groups, 280 people. And I just feel so blessed that what I learned to simply be here and open to what is, rather than fight what couldn't change, can help other people work with their own minds and body and notice what's right with them as well as what is painful or difficult. So I hope that it's a long answer, but and one more, since I'm giving a long answer, is I continue to live with uncertainty because I still have non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. I have had 2 recurrences. One of my recurrences was I was on a retreat that's called a loving kindness retreat, metta. And in the middle of the retreat, I felt some pain on my side. And I'm breathing and walking, and I'm saying, may I be happy, may I be healthy, may I live with ease, and I kept feeling the pain. And I had to go to the doctor, and I was actually rushed to the emergency room, and the very next day I had surgery. But I was calm. It still surprises me how calm I was. And I think that's because I had been practicing for a few days, just repeating words of loving kindness to myself. So when this happened, even though there was pain, even though I ended up having to have surgery, it's hard to believe, but it really wasn't a problem. I mean, I didn't like it. I wished it hadn't happened, but I was really calm. And I continue to use this awareness that we all are going to die at some point in our lives to help me be more fully present here, right now, which is what we teach in the program. How am I feeling now? grateful, filled with appreciation to be here with you, to be able to continue teaching, to have such wonderful people in my life, and to see what's happened to mindfulness, how it's now much more mainstream. No one has to, you can say, would you like to take a mindfulness course? And people understand that it's about a way of life that focuses on values that are ethical, that are empowering, and that, really are about goodness and health. And so I feel just totally grateful. And my body is fortunately aging, and so I have some aches and pains, but I'm better than ever. You know, I feel freer, I feel happier. I think knowing that I can die, knowing that I can have a recurrence, having been so sick, allows me to really, really feel this gratefulness and use my time as wisely as I can. So even if there's something that annoys me, I can say, this too will pass, and things change. So thank you. You know, I'm really happy that I'm here and I can talk to you. So, how has my personal experience helped me as a teacher in the program? I let myself make mistakes. I'm not so concerned with getting it exactly right. I'm more able to trust what will come in the moment, which is a blessing, very freeing, and it helps me keep that person that's all about me and looking good back in the distance, or not even there sometimes, which is a wonderful thing. So I'm more able to be with you. I'm much more able to be present and really hear what is being said. And I think it's helped me be a little more patient. But the biggest is feeling freer, that for many years I thought I should be this way or that way. And it's wonderful to say, okay, Elana, you have a New York accent. Okay, you're not so tall. It's all right to be who you are and be genuine. What a teacher should never forget, it's not about you, it's about service. It's about doing the absolute best job you can with the greatest integrity possible, that it's very important that you continue to have your own mindfulness practice every day, and not just on a cushion, but the way you live your life, so that wherever you are bringing mindfulness with you. But also that it's about service, that it's true service, and to continue to be open so that you can continue learning and just get larger and larger, so that you can hold more people, more pain, with greater lightness and freedom, and that it's transformative work. So I'd say the one thing to remember and never forget is to keep practicing and be mindful. I think patience is really important. Definitely patience. I think perseverance, to keep, if you are feeling discouraged, to not give up, but to just see it as another mind state and to continue on and keep practicing. To be open to honest feedback from trusted teachers and friends, to let life continue to teach you, which means an openness, a flexibility, and continuing to be anchored in this moment now. So it's really a way of life.